Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rashi Parasha Study on Parashat Toledot. We're going to try to do something that's really very difficult to do today, and we're going to discuss the famous comment of Rashi that Rivka was 3 years old when she married Yitzhak. And the question we're going to be asking is as follows. Rashi, for what purpose do you actually want to say this idea that Rivka was 3 years old? We're going to see the amount of problems within the text that it presents from the Ibn Ezra's questioning on the Rashi. And therefore, we're going to try to surmise maybe what was bothering Rashi that led him to say Rivka was 3 years old. We'll start with the pasuk by Yitzhak ben Arba'im Shana bekahtu Rivka betuel aramim mipadan aram. Ishaq is 40 years old when he marries Rivka. As a side point, it's interesting, he's the only Av which his date is at the day of his years is actually given to us at the time of his marriage. We don't know how old Abraham was when he married Sarah, nor do we know how old Yaakov was when he married Rachel or Leah, at least explicitly in the text. Yitzhak is explicit in the text. So it says actually as follows. If you look at the end of Perikaf Bet, Sefer Bereshit, right after the Akedah, and he gets told that his brother had children, and the last person, Utuel Yaladet Rivka. Betuel, who was born to Nahor, also had a child named Rivka, the only female mentioned within the text. Comments Rashi there that now after the Akedah, when Abraham started worrying about who's Yitzhak going to marry, he now hears that his brother has a granddaughter who's suitable for Yitzhak to marry. So that's at the end of the Akedah, and Yitzhak was 37 years old. How do we know Yitzhak was 37 years old? Rashi bases itself off another idea, the Semichut Parashiyot, the connection between the Akedah, the death of Sarah, and the next week's Parashat, Perikaf Gimel, right after Perikaf Bet of the Akedah, and as if Sarah died at that point in time. And Sarah died at 127. We know Sarah had Yitzhak at 90. Therefore, she dies, so Yitzhak was 37 at Sarah's death. And therefore, since Sarah's death was the same time of the Akedah and the same time of in Abraham being informed that Rivka was born, it means Yitzhak was 37. If Yitzhak is marrying Rivka at 40, it means Rivka is only 3 years old. Now, let's just point out the first problem. Besides the assumption that the Akedah and Mitat Sarah are taking place at the same time, let's say that's fine. Say Yitzhak at 37, fine. However, what's interesting is Avraham gets, when he hears the Besorah that Nahor had children, there's a lot of people being born there. He says Nahor gave birth to Betuel, and Betuel gave birth to Rivka. So obviously, there's talking about a span of generations we're talking about there. It's clear not all of them were born at the same time. So why assume that Rivka being born was when they sent the message, and therefore she was 0 years old at the time Abraham received the message, was Betuel, when Abraham is finding out the birth of Betuel, he's already a father who's having a daughter, right? It's a little bit odd to make that assumption. That's number one. Number two, within the story of Rivka and Parashat Sarah, it seems to be difficult to assume that she's 3 years old. We have, and even Ezra asked the question, he asked in Perikut Aleph of Bereshit, but it's the same idea. She's only 3 years old. How's she going and taking water from the well? He continues, says, she's a virgin, she's 3 years old. What's happening here? And then at the end of the story, we're going to ask her advice. What does she want to do? Who's asking a 3-year-old what they want to do? It seems to be very odd. And then Ibn Ezra says, don't try to tell me, don't try to say that Rivka's development was rapid development, just like people back then. You see that the development was actually slower back then, and he brings proof, and we won't go into it. So it really raises the question, Rashi, for what purpose do you want to say that Rivka is 3 years old? It's just creating a lot of problems, forcing us to make a lot of assumptions. And here the Na'im suggest an answer, and I'm going to modify it a little bit. The Na'im Rabbeinu Eliyahu Mizrahi, who is one of the great commentators, sub-commentaries on Rashi. He lives in Turkey in the 16th century in Izmir. And he comments as follows. He brings up an interesting point. How is it possible that Abraham went so long without allowing Yitzhak to get married? This is Yitzhak. You're worried about having children. Finally, you have a child about creating something. Make sure to marry Yitzhak. What are you doing being really delinquent in marrying him off to somebody? And we kind of see the answer. Abraham is nervous about the people around him. He doesn't feel comfortable. He doesn't know where to go. Finally, he finds out that there's somebody suitable from his family. There's somebody of age from his family. Okay, let's go there and let's see from there, right? And we want to make that connection. Did Abraham know specifically Rivka? No, but he heard that Nahor is having children, and not just Rivka. There's a lot of people going on, and all of a sudden, when Abraham hears that news, he's now able to say, okay, wait a minute, I do have an option. The whole time you're thinking, I don't have options, I don't know what to do. Finally, he hears about his brother's family prospering in Haran. He says, okay, let's go check it out. So says Nahor, okay, so now we can understand why Abraham is delaying Yitzhak getting married, and really, so Rivka had to be 3 years old in order for us to make sure that we don't understand that Abraham is delaying Yitzhak's marriage in order to ensure the future of Am Yisrael. If we can modify it just a little bit, right? I think there's something else here. Rashi has a point he's trying to make. He's trying to make a point about the importance of getting married at the proper time. And if Yitzhak is waiting till 40 to get married, anybody within Rashi's community can say, no, well, why do I need to get married early? I know the halacha says 18 years old, 20, ben yudahit lahupa, 20 years old already. God is saying why you're not getting married. God is asking about the person. So Rashi has a problem. If you're a rabbi within the community that you live, people say, no, Rabbi, I don't need to get married. Yitzhak got married at 40. What do you want from me? Comes to Rashi and says, no, Yitzhak got married at 40 only because of the Kavod 3. It was the earliest he could have got married once he was married to the person who was worthy to him. And it seems to be that Rashi here, I don't really think he's actually interested in coming to teach us the age of Rivka. I assume, and again, it's my personal assumption, I can't prove it, that she is more interested in setting the tone that you need to get married early. And in order to do so, he needs to excuse Yitzhak for getting married at 40. By how, oh, look, he got married as fast as possible. Yitzhak is only 3 years old. And therefore, to send the message, to get married early, don't delay. I think this is very probable that this could have been part of Rashi's agenda, because otherwise it seems to be odd. Why is it Rashi interested in A, saying Rivka with 3? What do I need to know her age in general? And then B, also saying something that's going to give you so much trouble with the story. And these questions are obvious. It's not Rashi is blind to thinking of these questions. Rashi, who often will reject me, the Rashi because saying they don't fit with Peshuto Shel Mikra. So here, you seemingly the whole story doesn't fit. What is the need that Rashi has to adopt this midrash in order to teach us Rivka was 3 years old? Who cares? And it seems to be if his reason was actually not from coming from a Bible commentator, but rather his reason was coming from a rabbi within his times to address the needs of his community. I think the answer becomes a little bit clearer. Do I know for sure this is the intent of Rashi? We don't know. But it's, I think, an interesting direction to think about, and have a good day.